Hey, folks. So I am definitely late going live today, but that is because I needed to spend some time this morning getting some things together in order to have this conversation with you guys and about this particular representative. What's up, Eric? Hey, let me see who else. Hey, Keith, good to see you. Hey, Red. Hey, Catsmandu, how are you? Hey, Harvey. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, please make sure that you say hello, or I will not be able to see that you are in there. And sometimes I'm still not able to see. What's up, Farah? Hey, Mel Gray. Good gosh, you're coming in quick. Hey, Jess. What is up, Kimber? Mandarific. Good to see you. What's up, MG Brock? Alex. Good to see you too. Hey. What's up, Patrice? Hey, Cam. Hey, Kimber. What's up, Brandy? How are you? Donna Ski, Masani. Good to see you as well. Brandy, Win Dixie. Hello, folks. Katrina, good to see you. Hey, Grammy. It went too fast. I saw somebody say, "Hey, I got something," and that's all I saw. What's up, DJ 20? Hey, Eve. Nice to see you. What's up, Sandy? You are not new here. You are so full of shit. Hey, Conchita, good to see you. It went very quickly. Whoever said, "Bless me, my family," I appreciate that. You love being early. Yeah, you're very early. What's up, Amy? Blue Honey Pot. Nice to see you as well. So I talked a little bit yesterday about Diana Harshbarger and her comments, and today I went back to watch the entire 37 minutes of her interview, some of which I'm going to play for you all today, and we're going to kind of talk about it piece by piece. Good morning, Pamela. Good to see you as well. We're going to talk about it piece by piece. What's up, Dirty Bad Bloggers? Hey, Dillgrave. Good to see you too. What's up, Dad Jokes? Good to see everybody. Haha, that was you. It just went by so fast, Marnie. I couldn't see it. What's up, Lamb Chop? So I am glad that you guys are joining. I'm on all three platforms today because there are a lot of people back home who do follow me, and I don't know if the algorithm will be nice to me and share this with a lot of them. Sometimes it doesn't like it unless I go straight through Facebook, which I'm not. What's up, DeBoss? Hey, Jen Penn, good to see you too. And but it's important that people see this in its entirety, and I want to have a real conversation. Hey, Gina, good to see you too. What's up, Marky? Nice to see you. Hey, Angela, you're back from back home. Ooh-wee. I know you're from back home, Angela. I know you're from back home. Absolutely. What's up, Helen Wells? Good to see you too. So hey, Eric, good to see you. Salt and Sassy, good morning. What's up, Jennifer? Okay, so folks, listen. This is going to be primarily about Diana Harshbarger, her comments, and how they are impacting us. So what's up, Akara? Jealous that you're in Hawaii. Yeah, thank you, Michael DeBose. Appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely need to share because of the back home folks. And so it will tie into other issues and other representatives, but it came out of Diana's mouth. And yay, Brandy, I love that. So I really want people to be in tune, to be listening. And then I want to have a real conversation, especially for the folks back home who support Diana Harshbarger, and you support her because you believe that you all came from the same church or the same Bible study or the same faith. And I want to have a real conversation about that. Because she is definitely mixing faith and politics. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan for many reasons. But I do want to call her out and hold her accountable for her hypocrisy. Because there's just a shit ton of it. What's up, Cam? Hey, Wawa. Hey, Linda. Good to see you as well. Yeah, I'm just like, here's my thing. She is a hypocrite, honey, all day damn long. And the beautiful thing about me is I love receipts. I love facts. I love things that can back up what I'm saying to you and why my position is where my position is. Now, let me also tell you this. I got a Bible laying on my desk. So if you want to go there, with me and have a conversation about faith, if you want to talk to me about Christianity and the United States of America, I am happy to go down that path with you all day long. Jesus and I are like cool. You have no idea. Like, he's a fan of my work and I'm a fan of his. So I'm just telling you, if you want to do that, do so at your own discretion. Good morning, Scott. Good to see you. Right. I'm in like Flynn. What's up, Blue Honey Pot? Hey, Sharon. Hey, Kathy Weeks Qualls. Hopefully you and Jerry are doing well. You know, I love the call, folks. Hey, Jewel, good to see you as well. So it does look like Facebook is being nice to me today with the algorithm. So yay, love that. Hey, Penny. You just had an M tell me all Democrats were evil and she was a Christian. Yeah, yes, Andy, we're definitely going to talk about that. Because this is the thing that I think is just really funny because I can't tell you all what it was like to watch 37 minutes of this interview with her and Fame Ministries, right, out of Johnson City, Tennessee. Hey, Rhonda. So, for those of you all who do not know, I am from the Tri Cities, which is Northeast Tennessee. It is east of Knoxville. Most people believe, they don't know that Tennessee exists further east than Knoxville, but it does. Like once you get past Pigeon Forge and Dollywood and UT, and the Knoxville Zoo, there are still people that live to the east. Appreciate it, Witch. Appreciate it, right? You're in the Tri-Cities, Washington. Yes, so it's Tri-Cities, Tennessee. Um, and that region typically is like Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. You're in Johnson City, so you're right where Fame is, right? Fame Ministries. So Booney is the guy from Fame Ministries that interviewed Diana Harshbarger, and unlike them, I'm not going to mock them on a personal level the way that they mocked other people, which just tickles me because you're supposed to be representative of Jesus Christ, and yet you are mocking people. The things that you say are not coming from the love of Christ. And so we're going to have a real good conversation about all of that 100% today, because I'm just not a fan. And it goes beyond the racist things that she said in that interview. It goes on to the things that she said that were transphobic and homophobic, and her misrepresentation of God and the Bible, and her belief that she's on a mandate. And I want to talk about her remarks about wanting to be a Joseph and a Daniel to Mike Johnson. That would be Speaker Mike Johnson, and wanting him to be a Joseph or a Daniel to Donald Trump. I want to talk about her threatening FEMA workers by saying, that she could talk to Donald Trump because, he believes that FEMA should be restructured. I want to talk about her jokes and her laughs and all of those things. Yeah, I appreciate that, Akara. So yeah, Jewel, right here. Hey, Rhonda, good to see you too. So we're going to talk about every bit of it. And like I said, if you consider yourself to be a Christian and you support Diana Harshbarger, if you any of those things, feel free to request to come up on this panel, and we can have an in-depth conversation about faith and facts, about politics, about faith in politics. I want to specifically address something that she said about we need to go back to what the Constitution was founded on. I want to go back and I want to see exactly what the founders said about faith in politics. We're going to talk a little bit about Alexander Hamilton. We're even going to talk a little bit about George Washington. Just to give you for reference, we will be talking about a letter from George Washington to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, Rhode Island in 1790. We will be talking about the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, right, which was part of the recommended amendments to the Constitution. It was part of the recommended 20th amendments to the Constitution. We're going to talk about the memorial and remonstrance, which we've done several times before. What's up, Doug? We are going to talk about Diana Harshbarger's work history. Several times in this interview, she brags about being a business owner and how important it is to look at fraud, abuse, and waste, and how, that's also her money. And so people need to be accountable for where they spend that money. And I want to talk about Diana and these morals that she and her family have in faith, and her absolute detesting of fraud, waste, and abuse, especially since her husband was convicted of healthcare fraud. And he was sentenced to 4 years in prison, right? I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about the fact that she was an officer of the company and one of the 2 directors listed on the paperwork for that company at the time that the fraud occurred. I want to talk to the almost $1 million in fraud that he committed, right? And then I want to talk about his plea deal, which specifically has a request from the government about Diana. Yeah, DeCam, can you tell I don't like her? I really don't like her. And I don't like her because she misuses Christianity. I don't like her because she's a hypocrite. I don't like her because she sits in judgment of other people, and she says things that are homophobic, transphobic, and racist. I don't like her. I don't like the fact that she is sitting in Congress representing Northeast Tennessee. I don't like her. Now, she might say, oh, I'm authentic and I'm original. You can be an authentic, not good person. You can be an authentic, not good person. Let me just say that. And she absolutely uses veterans too, Rhonda. She absolutely uses veterans too. So we're going to talk about every bit of it. And if you can see, I'm pretty passionate about how I feel about this. And I do, yeah, MG Brock, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. But here's my thing. You couldn't find me today, Jesse James. I hate that. I'm glad you did find me though. You did find me, right? Um, a judge has temporarily halted the White House's push to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was an AP News. Let me see what this AP News alert is that just came across my phone really quickly. See if I can find it. Sometimes it happens on mobile faster than it happens on my PC, right? You just saw that, Amy? Yeah. So, yeah, I don't like her at all. At all, right? And so, yeah. So, what's up, Gummy Nerd? Good to see you too. Hey, Sage. Good to see you. Let me see. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So, a couple of wins today. Let me just go ahead and give you this. So, a judge barred Trump from denying federal funds to sanctuary cities that limit immigration cooperation today. So that's another win in federal court. Another win that happened is a federal judge temporarily blocks Trump's push to end DEI in K through 12 public schools. So that's another win. So today we have two wins in court today. So love that, right? What I love is that so far the checks and balances seem to be working somewhat, right? So so I appreciate the court system for doing what it does. Yeah, we're going to get to the cage match. We are going to get to the cage match. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Both Teresas that I see. The courts are doing their part. What's up, Storm Rider? Good to see you. Okay, so let's just dive right in. So I have her interview. And I'm going to play different parts of it. I have about 4 pages of notes, things that I wrote down at different times throughout this interview that she does. And 4 more migrants were ordered to be returned. Love that shit all damn day. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. I'm here for every bit of that. Okay. Before I go into that though, I do want to give you some background on Diana Harshbarger. Okay. I want to tell you who her husband is. I want to tell you the company that she was a shareholder of, that she was listed as being an officer of, and she was listed as being one of 2 directors of. So the only 2 people that were listed on their paperwork was Diana and Robert Harshbarger Sr. They were the only 2 people listed on their paperwork. What's up, V. Laurent? V. Lauren. And so I think it's important for us to talk first about that. So let me just tell you, she was listed as the secretary. He was listed as the president. Okay, on this paperwork, and I'm looking at the Tennessee Corporation annual report. The reporting year is 2012. Why is that important? It's important because 2013 is when her husband did his plea deal. Okay. And this got brought up as she was running for office because she was criticizing Chinese companies. And that's where her husband bought fake medication from. Well, I'll get to it in just a second, but I just need to tell y'all this part. Okay. So let me just back up. American Inhalation Medication Specialist was the name of the company. So AIMS, AIMS is the company. She and Robert were listed as the directors, and she was a shareholder of this company. And she's listed as one of 2 only people running the company. Now she says she had nothing to do with what was happening. I have a personal opinion that says I don't believe her. And the reason I don't believe her is if you and your husband and you own a business together and you are the secretary of that business, it stands to reason that you would see invoices and orders and paperwork from where you are getting your products and services. It stands to reason that you would know what is transpiring in that company. And the other reason I don't believe her is specifically because of the plea deal that her husband did with the government. And we'll get to that in a second. First, I want to read to you the indictment. Are you cool with that? So, hold on, because I have several things up here in front of me. I have stuff from the FBI, I have from the DOJ, all the things. So, which one do I want to read from? First, let's read from the FBI Kansas City Division. We'll do that first, okay? And it says indictment. The indictment happened November 14th of 2012. Remember that 2012 is when she is listed as the secretary of this company with her husband. There was also a lawsuit. She was driving one of their company vehicles, and there was an accident that took place. When that accident took place, they filed a lawsuit against the other person in that accident. And the person who did this reporting is none other than Jeff Keeling. So if you are back home, he's probably the only journalist that I believe is a true journalist. He's the only person that pushes the envelope as far as they will let him push it. He's the only person that will tell you the truth if they allow him to. He's the only person that does what I consider to be like authentic, real journalism, and he's just great. He is the reason we know a lot about what happened with Sean Williams and that investigation and the Johnson City Police Department and all of those victims. Jeff is the reason we know. So Jeff did this article about Diana Harshbarger, and it says, yes, she was the shareholder for the company that she claimed to have no role or involvement in. And then he also dug up this other paperwork from this lawsuit that she was in. Okay. And here's what it says. That lawsuit said that, and I'm going to read directly from that lawsuit where she was driving the work car, the Ames vehicle. And here's what it says. It says, 1, this action was originally filed by plaintiffs Diana L. Harshbarger and Robert Harshbarger, who are the shareholders of American Inhalation Medication Specialists, Inc. 2, paragraph 10 of the original complaint states that the plaintiff, Diana L. Harshbarger, sustained, among other damages, property damage to the vehicle she was operating, which was involved in the automobile collision, which is the subject of this litigation. 3, subsequent investigation reveals the vehicle plaintiff, Diana L. Harshbarger, was operating at the time of the subject automobile collision was in fact owned by American Inhalation Medication Specialists, Inc. So in this court document from a lawsuit that she and her husband filed, Diana Harshbarger is identified as a shareholder. She's driving a company vehicle. The corporate incorporation papers that are filed with the state of Tennessee shows that she's listed as an officer of the company. She's the secretary of the company, and the only other officer is her husband. So it would stand to reason that she 100% absolutely would know what transpired with this company. Now, let me tell you what the FBI and the DOJ says transpired with this company. Because, you know, since God gave her a mandate, since God has ordered her steps, I just want us to be clear about her steps. I just want us to know about their steps that God ordered, that the Lord sent her on. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I am reading to you from the FBI's Kansas City Division's website. And it says, indictment, kidney dialysis patients received misbranded drugs, U.S. Attorney's Office, November 14th, 2012. Thank you for the octopus, Sage. I appreciate that. Let me fix this goal real quick because my folks will say, Danny, reset your goal. And I love you all and appreciate you for that because I do forget. So thank you very, very much. All right, let's get this thing popping. So I'm going to read it for you. You ready? Here we go. I know, Smile City, and I appreciate you all tremendously. You have no idea how much I appreciate you guys. All right. So Marky, you went ahead of me and you started Googling things. This is why I don't put stuff in the link tree. This is why, because y'all get ahead of me and start reading shit. Slow down. Slow down. All right, so here it goes. Topeka, Kansas. A Tennessee pharmacist is charged with substituting a cheaper drug imported from China for the iron sucrose that the Federal Drug Administration has approved for kidney dialysis patients, U.S. Attorney Barry Grissom said today. You're okay, Marky. I was just teasing you. Robert Harshbarger Jr., 53, of Kingsport, Tennessee, doing business as American Inhalation Medication Specialists, Inc., is charged with one count of selling misbranded drugs, one count of mail fraud, and 5 counts of healthcare fraud. Now, listen, Diana, since you are so concerned with, finding fraud, waste, and abuse, I want to know why, as the secretary of your husband's company, you did not identify this mail fraud and these 5 counts of healthcare fraud. I would like to know. Quote, although there are no reports of patient harm associated with the drugs that are alleged to be misbranded in this indictment, patient health was put at risk, said U.S. Attorney Barry Grissom. Quote, the FDA cannot assure the safety and effectiveness of products that are not FDA approved and come from unknown sources and foreign locations, or that may not have been manufactured under proper conditions. These unknowns put patients' health at risk because of uncertainty concerning the product's content, purity, and source, end quote. Grissom said there is no reason for current or former patients of Kansas dialysis to be concerned at this time. The events outlined in the indictment ended in 2009. Any significant iron deficiencies would have been addressed during the course of the patient's dialysis treatments. Nevertheless, any questions should be addressed to a physician, Grissom said. The indictment alleges that Harshbarger's company, American Inhalation Medication Specialists, Inc., of Kingsport, Tennessee, received more than $875,000. Let me say it again. The indictment alleges that Harshbarger's company, American Inhalation Medication Specialists, Inc. of Kingsport, Tennessee, received more than $875,000 from Kansas Dialysis and more than $845,000 from healthcare benefit programs, including Medicare and Medicaid, for misbranded iron sucrose sold from 2004 to 2009. Harshbarger misrepresented the iron sucrose drug as Venofer, which is the only iron sucrose drug approved by the FDA for both pre-dialysis and post-dialysis patients. Now, I want to pause right there. Now, you're telling me, because I'm going to tell you what she said. I'm going to quote it for you. I'm going to tell you what she said. She said, and I quote, I had nothing to do with it. My husband had a company that made medications. I had no role or involvement in that company whatsoever, end quote. Now, here's what we know. That is a lie. She did have a role. She was listed as the secretary of that company. She was also a shareholder of that company, right? So to say I had no role or involvement in that company whatsoever is not accurate. It's a bald-faced, plain out lie. Right? So that we know. Diana Harshbarger, you might want to call up Jesus because it appears that you are lying. So I hope that you have repented. I hope in all of your Wednesday night Bible studies with other Congress people that you have asked for forgiveness about this because you're lying to the people. And I just wonder, what would Jesus say about that? WWJD. If you don't have one of those bracelets, I'll send you one. I could just mail it to your office if you'd like. Anyway, then it goes on to say, Harshbarger purchased iron sucrose from Chinese companies, including, I guess it's Qindiao Shenbang Chemical Company in Qindiao, China, and Shanghai Rory Fine Chemicals Company Ltd in Shanghai, China. The iron sucrose from China was cheaper than purchasing Vinifer. Okay. If convicted, Hashbarger faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in federal prison and a fine up to $250,000 in the mail fraud count, a maximum penalty of 10 years and a fine of up to $250,000 on each of the healthcare fraud counts, and a maximum penalty of 3 years and a fine of up to $250,000 on the charge of selling a misbranded drug. The Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Health and Human Services Officer of Inspector General investigated. Assistant U.S. Attorney Tanya Treadway is prosecuting. So that, right, Teresa, but she's a pharmacist. So that is the indictment. Okay, I'm reading specifically the indictment. Okay, now what's up, Greenwich? All right, so I have so they had made a motion and they wanted this to be heard and moved and transferred to the Eastern District of Tennessee. Now, you and I both know probably why that could be. But let me just say this, that was denied with this first paperwork. What happened after that doesn't really matter. Okay. So I want to go to this next part because I have the some screenshots of the actual plea deal. Okay. So let me tell you what it is. It is the United States of America plaintiff versus Robert Hashbarger Jr. defendant. The case number is 12-40119-01-JAR, right? The topic is pinned. All right, so this is in the United States District Court for the District of Kansas, okay? So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but it says, if the court permits, which they did, the defendant agrees to plead guilty to counts 1 and 3 of the indictment. Count 3 of the indictment charges a violation of 21 U.S.C. 331A, which is misbranding. Count 3 of the indictment charges a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1347, which is healthcare fraud. By entering into this plea agreement, the defendant admits to knowingly committing these offenses and to be guilty of these offenses. The defendant understands that the maximum sentence which may be imposed to count 1 of the indictment, to which the defendant has agreed to plead guilty, is not more than 3 years imprisonment, a fine of $250,000 and 1 year of supervised release. The defendant understands that the maximum sentence which may be imposed as to count 3, blah, 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 whatever. But now here's the part that I want to get to. The part that I want to get to, because this is the part that I think is really important. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. When it comes to Diana, because these are the things that I find to be important. Okay. So she says, I had no role in this company. I had nothing to do with it. This was my husband's deal, even though she is listed as an officer. She's a shareholder. She's the secretary of this company. Okay. And this period of time, this went on for 5 years. So I just simply don't believe that for 5 damn years, your husband's running a business buying iron sucrose from China, shipping it to Kansas. You guys are collecting $1 million from Kansas Dialysis, and you as the secretary of the company don't know anything about it. I don't believe you. Now, I'm not saying that you did it. I'm saying I don't believe you. And one of the biggest factors, as if everything else wasn't enough, as if your business records weren't enough, as if the lawsuit wasn't enough, as if common damn sense wasn't enough, I'm going to tell you the biggest reason why I don't believe her, because as a condition of this plea deal, let me tell you what it said. She had to sign off as secretary. I know the boss, but just did. Thank you, Akaria. Gosh. So let me just tell you what it says. So point 5 of this plea agreement says this. It says government's additional agreements In return for the defendant's plea of guilty as set forth herein, the United States Attorney for the District of Kansas also agrees A, to move for dismissal of the remaining counts of the indictment at the time of sentencing, B, to not file any additional charges against the defendant arising out of the facts forming the basis for the indictment, and here's the big one, folks, C, to not file any charges against the defendant's wife, against whom the government currently has no evidence of complicity in the activities charged in the indictment. So, as part of Robert Harshbarger Sr.'s plea deal, was that they would not file any charges against Diana. Now, why do you need that, Diana? If you had no role in it, if you weren't part of the company, if you had nothing to do with it, why do you need that as a condition of your husband's? Why does your husband need that as a condition of his plea deal? I'm asking the question. Why do I need that? I'm going to read it again. It says, point C says, to not file any charges against the defendant's wife, against whom the government currently has no evidence of complicity in the activities charged in the indictment. So, in my opinion, I don't believe Diana Harshbarger, because you said you had nothing to do with it. You had no role or involvement in the company whatsoever. And yet you were the secretary of the company. And yet you were driving the company car, right? And yet it went on for 5 years and you and your husband were the only two operators of the business. I don't believe you. I could be wrong, but I don't believe you. So now let's talk about the saved, sanctified Diana Harshbarger, who's got a mandate from the Lord to save our country. Let's talk about it, okay? So she went to she was sitting in her office and she was interviewed by Booney. And yes, you heard me say that name right. It's Booni, Booney, right? Elaine said you didn't believe her when it happened. Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't believe her, right? But Booney went and interviewed her, and now they go way back, y'all. They go way back to middle school and all of that. And at one point in time, Booney's wife needed a job, and Diana gave her one. And I know that because they talk about it at the beginning of this interview. Now, you too can watch the entire 37-minute interview if you would like to on Fame Ministries Facebook page. That's where it's posted. Okay. So when I say fame, I mean F.A.M.E. Like fame. I want to live for, like that. Fame Ministries. Okay. So I went there and I listened to this. Veronica said, nah, I'm good. Right. What's up, Mr. Barrios? Okay, so at the very beginning, as you can see, so let me can I show y'all? These are my notes from listening to this thing. I was furiously like, when did that happen? And so the first thing that I found very funny about this interview was he asked her, when did she have this aha moment that she needed to be in Congress, that she needed to run for office? And I was so tickled at this moment. I forgot to write down like what minute it occurred, but it's in the first few minutes. So let me just pull it up and I'll find it for you real quick. So
have a good time today. Just remember, polling booth, and they say, I voted for you. And you look in the back seat and they got their babies. This is why you do what you do, or this is why people should.
Hold on.
The values that faith.
And giving my wife a job when she needed.
Oh my Lord!
Look at this. You need to
hold on.
These mechanisms. And it was a day I had skipped. I don't know why I skipped.
Okay, so listen. Here it is.
What was your aha moment that you knew I need to run for office?
That's a great question, because over the years, I'd gone up to Capitol Hill to fight for my profession about the over-crushing, burdensome regulations that they'd put on pharmacy.
So listen, it's an over-crushing, burdensome regulations on pharmacies. I guess not buying your medications from China where they're not FDA approved is an over-crushing, burdensome regulation on pharmacy. That was her aha moment. Y'all, she'd been up there and she got this little, so I just couldn't. When I heard her say it, I said, "Sweet baby Jesus." Here we go. You ready?
For office.
That's a great question, because over the years, I'd gone up to Capitol Hill to fight for my profession about the over-crushing, burdensome regulations that they'd put on pharmacy. And there was just a time that I remember I'd get Crown Financial emails every day. They'll tell you it's just a great little tool for anybody who is learning how to do their finances and things. And I've told many people over the years, I said, look at this. You need to look at these mechanisms.
Capitol Hill.
And it was a day I had skipped. I don't know why I skipped January the 19th. But days later, I was checking my unread emails, and there it was. It says, when people, Larry Burkett said, I used to think you never mix politics and religion. But he said, I'll tell you what happens if you don't get involved. You end up with a secular society, and that's exactly what we had. And it said Christians should be involved in what's going on in their government at the local
level. So stop. So can we take a look at what it means to have a secular? I just want to, because y'all know me. So when we say secular, it denotes activities, attitudes, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis. So if you don't get involved in politics from a religious perspective, you end up with your politics having no religious or spiritual basis. Guess what? That's what it should be. It should be secular. Government should be secular, Diana. In case you did not know, government should be secular. But that's the first thing that she said, okay? As if secular is somehow a bad word, okay? And can I just say this? 69% of the world, listen to me, folks, 69% of the world is something other than Christian. Folks, this idea that Christianity is the only way to be a good person is asinine. Because 69% of the world is something other than Christian. Okay? So, let me let you go on and hear what she says. So listen.
The state level and to federal level, and it just confirmed in my spirit. And the pastor always said, obedience is better than sacrifice. And when God called me, it's a conviction that you can't shake.
Now, God called her, and it's a conviction that you just can't shake. God called her. Now, I want to pause right there. And this is what I would like to know. I would like to know what God. Is it the God? I know. Sorry. God. Yes. Is it like, what God is it? Is it the God of Southern Baptists? Is it the God of Catholics? Is it the God of Protestants, Episcopalians? Is it the God of, like, what God are we talking about? Right. God called her. Marky said, what was he calling her? So listen, here we go.
I left a race for like a week or something. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why do I put my family and my business through this? But that conviction was so strong. I said, nope, I'm going to do it. And God was with me. If you beat 16 other people, and it's all because you're authentic and genuine. And that's the way I've always been, Boone.
Now, let me just say this. Here's what she said. She said, God called me and God was with me because if you beat 16 other people. Well, now by that reasoning, I could assume that God called Joe Biden, that God called Hillary Clinton, that God called Barack Obama, that God called. Are y'all following me? Because if that's the deciding factor, is that God is with me, because if you beat 16 other people, well, I mean, you're not the only person that's beat tons of other people. So by that reasoning alone, God called Barack Obama. Right? Here we go.
Authentic and genuine. And you practice what you preach. You don't change for anything. Heck, it's like I tell people up in Congress, I didn't get in it till I was 60. And for heaven's sakes, it's like that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. I got better insurance and more money. What are you going to do to me? Nothing.
So listen to what she said. She said, this is what I tell people up in Congress. I got better insurance and more money. What you going to do to me? Did you hear that? I need y'all to hear what she's saying. I need you to hear what she's saying, folks. Listen, seriously, this is a congresswoman. Yeah, she gives me more than the ick, but I need you to hear what she says. Listen, it's like that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. I got more money and I got I got better insurance and more money. What you gonna do to me? Nothing. Watch.
And you practice what you preach. You don't change for anything. Heck, it's like I tell people up in Congress, I didn't get in it till I was 60. And for heaven's sakes, it's like that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. I got better insurance and more money. What are you going to do to me? Nothing. Not a thing. They can't.
It's one of my wife's favorite movies, by the way.
Well, I did not know. How sweet is that? But you know what I'm saying? I just say it in a nice Southern way and say, bless your heart at the end of it. And they don't know if that's good or bad. So, but it's a journey. Everything is. And when you do what God calls you to do, he's going to bless you in those endeavors.
Well, I mean, when you that's the dude from the ministry place that's interviewing her, the boss. That's Booney, Boonie, Booney, or Booney, Booney. That's who it is. Yeah, the better insurance part. As a member of Congress, you do have better insurance. Yeah, it's certainly better insurance than Medicare and Medicaid, which your husband committed fraud against when he bought medications from China and sold them to a company that was giving it to patients on dialysis. Yeah, you do. You have better insurance than Medicare and Medicaid. You sure do. And more money. Now, you might have more money because of that $875,000 that you got from one and the $850,000 you got from the other. I mean, that might be why you have more money. For 5 damn years, you bought this other iron sucrose from China because it was cheaper than buying the stuff that you were supposed to buy. So maybe you got more money because for 5 years, you didn't have to pay what you were supposed to pay for the actual medication that you all were supposed to send to people in Kansas who were on dialysis. So, for me, here's one of the things that I think, since, so people like Diana, they like to say things like, well, God says an eye for an eye, right? They say things like that. And so this is my thought process as part of Robert Harshbarger's punishment, right? I think that he should have had to donate a kidney to save somebody's life and then go on dialysis for 5 years and be given the same medication he bought from China. I think that would have been like a great addition to the sentencing. Right? I mean, I'm just saying, right? Well, since we're talking about, criminals and things like that and how we need to get them out of our country, I think criminals that take advantage of our government and commit fraud against our government, Diana, should, that's a homegrown criminal right there. That's a homegrown criminal. I want to know, when is Robert Harshbarger Sr. going to CCOT? Because, we love that idea about homegrown criminals. He's a felon. So when's he getting on a plane and going to CCOT? So she goes on And she talks about God has a plan and he orders our steps and blah, 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 blah. Now, I want you to get, I want to get to this other part. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it. It's there. It's there. He's not brown. I know he's not. I know he's not, but I'm just saying, right? Holy jeez, right? But let me get to this little part down here because Diana Harshbarger is talking about like sometimes what happens in with their prayer groups. And apparently Diana Harshbarger and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson are I don't know why it says that because it's not. Let me see. Mila, stop. Okay, well then look right here. Plug it up. Stop. It's right here. And Tutu's working. Girl, no. No, I'm working, I said. There you go. All right. Now. All right. So appreciate your car. You got me going. Spray tan. Okay, I can't with you, Janie. All right. So here we go. Mila, stop. She's mad because somebody other than me is plugging up her phone. There it goes. Now it just got hit, Cheryl. Can you believe that she is mad because somebody other than me is plugging up her phone? Mila, Uncle Doug says hi. All right. So listen, here we go. Hey, Mom, will you text her mom and let her know just to come on and grab her? Yep, I just did Smile City. Thank you. Gumps, I have no idea. Just extra. I don't know. Okay, so come here, Mila. Come here now. Come here. Well, then quit crying. Okay, that's your choice. Come here. She's not coming. All right, so let me get to this other part. All right, so she's talking about her, and she is MG Brock. So let me just tell y'all. So this part, she begins to have a conversation about her and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and this prayer group that they are in. So listen. So let me go ahead and give it to you.
I sense we're on the verge of a revival, Booney. I sense it with all my heart. And
so she says she senses that we're on the verge of a revival. Now, I will tell you what I think. I sense that we are on the verge of a revolution. That's what I think. I sense that we are on the verge of a revolution. She senses that we're on the verge of a revival. We'll just see who ends up being right at the end of the day, but it probably ain't going to be her. 1 second. Stop right now. You're going to stop. Come here. Come here. Get on my lap. Come on. Come on. I am working right now, Mila. I'm telling you, Mila, it is my fault. Come on if you're coming. Now sit down and be quiet. All right. So I don't believe that it is a revival that has happened. I believe that it is a revolution that is happening. And I think Diana has it wrong, right? That's, sometimes you can get a little spiritually, kids be kidding, spiritually out of tune. That's just what I think, right? So let me get to this next little part, because for all of the women that are listening, I want you to hear what she says about women, please be quiet, on the Hill who are talking. And, oh, wait, before I get to that, I'm going to let this play for the next 30 seconds and listen to what she says.
Other people like me that feel the same way. And so the most important thing that we can do collectively as a nation is to pray. And Timothy tells us to pray for our leaders. And we can't neglect, no matter if we like them or not. But the way I deal with that is sometimes you see these people at a hearing and it's like you're watching a version of the Housewives of DC. They're up there screaming and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's just like a bunch of thugs.
So listen, sometimes you see these people and it's like you're watching some sort of episode of the Housewives of DC, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're up there screaming. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look, it's like a bunch of thugs, she said. Now, what I would like everyone to do is go ahead and pull up what the Housewives of DC looks like. What does the Housewives of DC look like? So we got a little mixture up in there. Yes, Rhonda, we're thugs, right? So anyway, so that's Diana saying, "Oh my gosh, it's like a bunch of thugs." And then listen to the rest of what she says.
But I'm like, and why are they? It does nothing except lowers their credibility. You have to be a person of substance and credibility, and you have to keep your cool, and that's what I try to do. And it's also a chance for me to mentor these other members or to step in and say, that's not right. And I've done it over and over. If I've heard them say bad words that I won't repeat, and I'm like, it's not an example for your young daughter or your young son. Don't do that. It's not upholding. And even if I didn't know if they were Christians or not, I just didn't like it. And you can say it in a gentle rebuke. Listen, I think they listen to me because what's Proverbs say? It's better to be on the roof than inside the house with a brawling woman.
They listen to her because Proverbs says it's better to be on the roof than in the house with a brawling woman. So this next part, I want you all to listen to Diana Hashbarger after they talk about, she's, been called out and by President Trump and all of that, right? On the roof. Yes, Steffi G, on the roof. So I want you to hear what she says. He asks her specifically about, because East Tennessee was hit with the hurricane, and it had lots of flooding and lots of damage was done. And so he's asking her about FEMA and all of that. You hadn't heard of her? Oh, Rylene, she's from my district back home, so I know Diana Hashbarger way too well for my liking, right? But so let me tell you what she says. She goes on and she talks about FEMA is slow getting the money that's supposed to come back to Tennessee because Tennessee's got this rainy day fund and blah, 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 blah. But I want you to hear the threat that she makes to FEMA employees. Listen to what she says.
They put up money that they need to recoup from FEMA. And so they drag their feet because we have a well-run state. And when you have that rainy day fund, they're saying, you don't need our money. We think you can handle it yourself. I'm like, no. I said, I've been talking to the president. He thinks FEMA needs to be restructured. And I'm talking to the people at FEMA, and they had I said, tell me how many claims you've got pending. And they didn't know the number. But then they came back later in the call and they had the number. And the funny thing is, he goes, ma'am, I think we should probably go ahead and look at these pending claims and see if we can do something about it. I said, I think it'd be wise to do that. 54.
So listen, she says, I've been talking to the president, and he thinks FEMA needs some restructuring. How many claims do you all have that's backlogged? Oh, they didn't have the number, but they came back and they got it. And they came back and said, well, here's the number. And ma'am, I think we ought to clear that. I said, I think that you might want to do that. Oh, so what you mean is you are threatening FEMA employees with termination, quote unquote, under restructuring. She sounds like a bully, Susan. Exactly. Because you have the ear, quote unquote, of the president. Interesting. Y'all, that is the first 13, 14 minutes of this damn interview and my first page of notes. All right. She's asleep. Yeah, I know. Knocked out. She talks about seeing Franklin Graham at the inauguration, and all these other things. And then she talks about the people gave us this huge mandate. She says, to get out fraud, waste, and abuse. And she talks about that what they're doing with their algorithms is finding all the fraud, waste, and abuse, is what she talks about. So I want to go back down here to about the 17-minute mark. And the reason I want to do that is she says something that I think probationary employees that were fired may want to know. This little comment right here, I am not an attorney and I am not giving legal advice. What I am saying is that if you are a federal worker who was on a probationary status and you were fired by the Trump administration, this next tidbit might be worth listening to and might be worth presenting to an attorney. I'm not one, so I would recommend letting one of them tell you what they think. Because listen to what she says about probationary workers. You guys ready? Here we go.
Because once they become...
Oh, wait. I got a little
How does that happen? This is the U.S. Treasury,
okay, so
for
listen to what
God's
she
sakes.
says.
And I'm like, no. I could give you example after example.
Listen.
They are showing it to those department heads. Is why it was so important to confirm those people in Trump's cabinet. Those cabinet heads have to go through line by line and figure out which programs stay. All these things are under review or they're held at bay. Probationary employees were fired because once they become full-time employees or unionized, you have to deal with the union. They went back and...
So wait, I want you to hear this. She said probationary employees were fired because once they become full-time employees, they are unionized and you have to deal with the union. I want to play that part again. Because as much as the Al Green boy stuff, right? As much as the Al Green boy stuff is important, and there's some other stuff that she said that's important from a legal perspective, this shit right here is very important. So listen to what she says, okay?
All these things are under review or they're held at bay. Probationary employees were fired because once they become full-time employees or unionized, you have to deal with the union. They went back and added people back to the roster once they found out if they were good workers.
Did you hear that? So what does that mean? Once they found out if they were good workers, that means once they found out if they were aligned with the Trump agenda. That's what that means. But she 100% said the quiet part out loud, and she may have just said the illegal part out loud. So all I'm saying is if you know a federal employee that was in a probationary period and was fired, they may want to go ahead real quick and download and screen record this damn interview. Listen, I'm gonna tell you where to go for it. You ready? Go right around the 17-minute and let me see. Hold on, I'm gonna get you right there because I believe in being helpful. So 16 minutes and 56 seconds. 16 minutes and 56 seconds. I want you all to listen to Congresswoman Diana Hashbarger, whose steps was ordered by the Lord, who was called by God to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse, talk about firing federal employees.
Probationary employees were fired because once they become full-time employees or unionized, you have to deal with the union. They went back and added people back to the roster once they found out if they were good workers.
So I just wanted y'all to be able to hear that, okay? And let me lay this solidly built child down. Give me 1 second, folks. Oh. All right. So, I happen to have been at the Michigan Rural Democratic Rural Caucus a couple of weeks ago, and there was a labor panel there full of union people, pretty high up union people, and I just think that maybe union people might want to know this. I think that people that that are part of all the unions should know that this is what they did, and this is what a congresswoman is saying that they did. Yeah, which when she goes to sleep, she's out. Because I think that that's important. I think that's really, really important that she said it. Teresa said she's listened to this interview several times and it confirms everything she already knows. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, she just opened her mouth and stuck her foot all the way down her throat. Like her toes are tickling her stomach right now. And I bet you money of all the people, because WBIR went and talked to her and asked her about her comments about Al Green that happened at the end of this interview. And now she says that WBIR from Texas is no longer a reputable news agency and they're not going to respond to their request for comment anymore and all of that, right? But here's my thing, is she said it out of her own mouth. And the beauty of this is this live I'm doing right now is recorded. So even if they were to take this down, we're playing it. And I may have or may not have already recorded it myself. May or may not have, You just never know about that thing. Okay, so there's another part that comes right after this that I also think that people should hear about, because she is talking about the things that she thinks is happening. Yeah, WBIR in Knoxville is a very reputable station. We know that, right? But I do want to give you all this piece because they talk a lot about spiritual battles, right? And, I was raised neck deep in church. I was raised, Southern Baptist and then non-denominational and all the things, right? So I know all the talk about spiritual battles and demons and all the things. I want you to listen to what Diana Harshbarger says right here. Give me a second. You ready? Here we go. So, okay. Oh, she talks about her money's going and blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so listen, they talk about the superiority will make you throw up. The superiority will make you throw up because they go on to say that, not everybody's going to understand what she's talking about right here because they don't have the spiritual awareness that she does. So listen.
We're going to talk about faith in politics.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a side that's not going to understand what you're about to say.
Yeah.
They're not going to know why you feel the way you feel. Mm-hmm. And a moment ago, we talked about how everything is affected spiritually. Everything around us.
Yeah.
Daniel, you mentioned Daniel. He said in chapter 10, he said, I prayed for 21 days. I never got an answer. And this angel finally appears to him and says, for 21 days, Daniel, we heard you praying.
Yes.
But now the archangel came and released me from the battle with that demon in the air.
Amen.
And I'm come to answer your prayer. And he gave him his answer and he said, now I've got to return to the fight.
Yes.
So when you think about Washington and you think about being in the State of the Union, or even back when y'all were having that vote about Speaker McCarthy and all that, it's a battle. It's a spiritual battle that nobody knows because there's this battle going on out here. Mm-hmm. But, the Bible says greater is he that's within us than he that's within the world. Yeah. So how do you know the truth about that? Yeah. So how do you portray that to other people other than just in a loving spirit?
Yeah. Well, sometimes my spirit's not so loving, but it's all in how you say it, and you can't hit them over the head with the Bible. But it's like I said, when we had some people come in at church and they would spend a week in a revival. And I remember one old gentleman coming in, and Sam Cathy, I believe. Mm-hmm. I learned more about spiritual warfare in that 1 week that I've used my entire life, and I still use it to this day, because there could be a demon behind every bush. We don't see in the heavenly realm the battle that's going on between the demons of hell and the angels of the heavens. And you, just like you said in Daniel, it's a beautiful story, and you can just, I can picture that because I see it every day. You know, you're taught in spiritual warfare, the devil can only be in one place at one time, and I don't think he's messing with me. But with Russian president or Ukrainian, or we don't know where he's at. But he's got all these little henchmen that are demons that are wreaking havoc in every area of our lives, and especially in Washington, D.C. This is the hub that controls really what goes on in the world, with Wall Street all the way down to your Main Street in foreign policy.
So for some reason, the devil is more concerned with Washington, D.C. than anywhere else. And that's where all the demons are. That's where all of them are. Washington, D.C. Because demons are worried about the stock market. Demons are worried about Wall Street.
There's a spiritual warfare going on. And, you know, this is where I struggle. You know, I had to defend, we had to get up and talk about abortion. And it was the women on the Republican side.
Listen.
You have to stand there and tell those women that every life counts on the other side. And they would boast about their abortions or about their transgender children and all this. And I'm like, and yet they profess to be Christians. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, God, that is an atrocity that they will one day be held accountable for. But how do you?
So she is talking about other Republican women who have said, yes, I've had an AB, right? And I have a child that is trans. And she is saying what an abomination they are, and that they're going to be held to account in front of God. I cannot. But she goes on. This part right here makes me furious. And let me just I'm going to give you all a warning right now that she is about to tell a bald-faced, big-ass lie. And I just want you to hear what she says that is not in any way, shape, or form true. Listen.
It's hard, Booney. Listen. You know, the Bible tells us you will be turned over to a reprobate mind after a specific point to where you won't know. But what the Bible also says, it says, in the end, things that are known to be that you think are good will be looked at as bad, and those things that are bad will be looked at as good. And that's where we're at. If you ask me, anybody who would ever think that mutilation of a 3-year-old is normal because that child wants it, oh my God.
What 3-year-old wants to be mutilated? What 3-year-old is being mutilated? What in the absolute fuck is she talking about? So this is when they would have you believe that parents are turning 3-year-olds into trans children, which we know is not true. But literally, this is what she's saying. This is what she says to these Christians and to these constituents back home. This is what she tells them is happening. And all the media back home is owned by Sinclair Group. Not all of it, but the vast majority of it is. And that's what she's telling them. This is her saying this. This is Diana Hashbarger, Congresswoman from Tennessee. What's up, retired PE teacher? So I just want you all to hear the lie that is just coming out of her mouth while she's called by God to save the country. She then goes on to talk about how, you know, she mentors her young staff and how they all call her Mama D because, you know, she builds a relationship with them and somebody needs to be there to guide them and tell them what's right and tell them what's wrong. And, you know, she's accountable to God Almighty, her constituents, and that's it. What? I want to know if you're going to let her get your nap out before you go in there. Tell her about 2:30. but that's what she says. And these folks are just smiling at her, listening as if she is telling the absolute truth. It's just crazy to me. And then, of course, they go down this road talking about Trump having been having survived the pew pews, right? And how he was saved by God to make America great again, and that she truly believes that, and that they have a short window in which to carry out this mandate. Listen, this is what she says. They have a short window. Hold on, let me see if I can get the exact part, because y'all know I marked down minutes. So listen.
Them to do things, and the only way you change anything, Booney, is you have to force it, and you force change, and that's what we're doing. And we really do, for such a time as this, we have a very short window, and I believe that the people there have been ordained since the beginning of time to be there to do this at this moment. And I will share this little story that Speaker Johnson told me. The second attempt on.
Okay, now listen. This is her retelling. Yeah, this is very disturbing, Amy. And this is the part that I really want people to focus on. Even more than the racist, even more than the transphobia, even more than the homophobia. I want you to hear that they are, quote unquote, forcing change. She has already said that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is part of this prayer group that they are in, that she's in. She talks about a particular group of congresspersons who are in this Wednesday night prayer group together. And so now she's going to tell you about this conversation that Speaker Mike Johnson had with Donald Trump right after the second pew pew attempt that happened. So listen, I really want you to hear what she says that Mike Johnson said, and what Mike Johnson said to Donald Trump. Listen.
Trump's life, at the golf course. Speaker Johnson and his wife were headed down to see him in Florida. And Mike told me this. He said, we had no idea what had happened, that they caught the guy. But when we went in, said he was sitting there and he was rattled. And he's like, I can't believe it. They really want me dead for real. And he got to minister to him about what the significance of getting hit in the ear is. And he told him, he said, President Trump, God is trying to make an impact in your life. He wants you to listen the significance of the ear. Listen to what he wants to tell you. It goes back to what I said initially. We want to be the Josephs or the Daniels in somebody's life.
Now listen, the Josephs and the Daniels are referring to people who interpret dreams or who are prophets, who are able to tell people whatever God is saying to them. So what she is saying, she said it earlier, she wants to be the Daniel or Joseph to Mike Johnson, and she wants Mike Johnson to be the Daniel or Joseph to Donald Trump. So what Mike Johnson said, he was quote unquote ministering to Donald Trump, was that when he got hit in the ear, that the significance of that, Mike Johnson said to him, is that God wanted him to listen. That's why it hit his ear and nothing else, was that God wanted Donald Trump to listen and that he wanted him to carry out this work. So now, if it's not clear to you yet, you might need to listen, all right? Right, Peter got his cut off, and Jesus said, get it together and get it back on, right? But listen, I want you all to understand what this is. This is a group of Christian nationalists that are absolutely. Do y'all remember when we watched A Storm Foretold and Roger Stone talked about how easy it was to manipulate Donald Trump and get him to believe that he had said or he had done things? Do y'all remember that? What you see is them doing the same thing. What you see is them doing the same thing. And he loves it because it gives him a power trip. He loves it because it caters to his narcissism. He loves it because it builds up his ego. But they have literally convinced him that he is chosen by God. He's the puppet. And it's them. It is the Christian nationalists of the Heritage Foundation and all around that are putting it all together. It's crazy. It's absolutely astounding to me. So she then says, yeah, listen, y'all. She then says it's their job to go minister to people in order to save the country. Yeah, so Monty, I say the same thing, right? So people talk about Christianity all the time, and they talk about anything, so any other faith that isn't Christianity that talks about miracles or doing whatever, it's always sorcery and witchcraft unless it's Christian. If it's Christian, then it's not. And literally it is really concerning, Love to Ski. It really is, because you all need to remember the Crusades. You need to remember what happens when people believe that they are doing something for God. When people believe that God is behind them, that God has chosen them, it excuses everything. It excuses everything they do, even unaliving people. Right. They commit so many atrocities in the quote unquote name of God. Right. So I want you to listen, because we only have a few more minutes of this. So I want you all to listen to this. Okay. Oh, Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. 100%. Right. But let me just tell you what else she says about what we have let happen to the country. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so this right here, he's asking her, what does she feel right now is the most important challenge for the country? So listen, okay? Let me get. Okay, here we go. Listen.
Close
Okay.
on another thought, but what do you feel right now is the most important and pressing issue facing our nation today?
It's just really spiritually, it's the immorality that we've allowed to creep into the traditional family. You know, my friend Mary Miller in Congress, we're both mothers and grandmothers, came in at the same time, same age. We both chartered a congressional family caucus, and the traditional family.
Congressional
how do you tear a nation down? You tear the families apart. And if you don't have a traditional family with traditional values, that is the demise of this nation, Booney, the demise of this nation. And if I can do anything to let people, and especially the young people, they're out there searching, to let them know this is the core unit. It's God, family, and then everything else. And God ordained that family because that's what makes a nation strong. And if we could get back to those core values and principles, it changed the way this whole world did business. And you see that in some countries like Hungary and different places. President Trump he said he's going to be the fertility president. And it was a joke, but it's so funny. He's talking about IVF and all.
Trump said he was going to be the fertility president. It was a quote unquote joke. They were talking about IVF and things, but listen to what she says.
These kids and stuff. But if you look at what some of these other countries are going back, they're pushing off on these stupid things like transgender, or you can pretend to be a man if you're a woman, or a woman if you're a man, all this junk. They're getting back to what made them great. And we do want to make America great again.
Listen at who she talks about. She says, look at these other countries that are pushing back on these stupid things like transgender, But listen at what countries she praises. Listen.
And it starts with God and with the family and just the simple institution. What were we founded upon? What was the Constitution founded upon? Go back and teach the Constitution to your children and how this country was founded. They'd be better off for it.
Right. Final question or final thought.
Oh, wait, did I talk over it when she said Hungary? Let me see, because she said Hungary. So hold on.
IVF and all these kids and stuff. But if you look at what some of these other countries are going back, they're pushing off on these stupid things like transgender, or you can pretend to be a man if you're a woman, or a woman if you're a man, all this junk. They're getting back to what made them great. And we do want to make America great again. And it starts with God and with the family.
It's
and just
before
a
that.
simple institution. What were we founded upon? What was the
It's
Constitution
before
founded
that.
upon?
Okay,
Go
as long
back
as y'all heard it.
and teach the Constitution to your children, and have the young people, they're out there searching, to let them know this is the core unit. It's God, family, and then everything else.
Is it before that?
And God ordained that family because that's what makes a nation strong. And if we could get back to those core values and principles, it'd change the way this whole world did business. And you see that in some countries like Hungary and different places. President Trump wants.
And you see that in places like Hungary. That's what she said. And you see that in places like Hungary.
Because that's what makes a nation strong. And if we could get back to those core values and principles, it'd change the way this whole world did business. And you see that in some countries like Hungary and different places. President Trump he said he's going to be the fertility president.
President
It was
Trump
a joke,
wants
but
it.
it's so funny. He's talking about IVF and all these kids and stuff. But if you look at what some of these other countries are going back, they're pushing off on these stupid things like transgender.
I need for y'all to understand,
pretend to
she
be a man if you're a
intends-
woman, or a woman if you're a man, all this junk. They're getting back to what made them great. And we do want to make America great again. And it starts with God and with the family, and just the simple institution. What were we founded upon? What was the Constitution founded upon? Go back and teach the Constitution to your children, and how
we're
this
going to talk
country
about
was
it in just a
founded.
minute.
They'd be better off for it.
Final question or final thought. Back at your
Listen.
Hashbarger hoedown,
Yeah.
we were talking after it was over, and you
Yeah.
said something to me that just really
This is important.
encouraged me.
I want you to
And I
listen to what
thought
she
myself,
says that
people
she
need to know
does
this. People need to
and
hear
what
this.
she and Mary Miller
You said
do on the
that
floor of
before
Congress.
you go out
Listen.
on the floor to vote,
Mm-hmm.
you have a group of people that you
Mhm.
gather with, that you all pray
Yeah.
before you all go vote.
Yeah.
And I think people need to know that.
You know, I wish we could take a little camera into our little prayer meetings, because we do pray. And there's a certain prayer meeting we have every Wednesday at 7. And
There's a certain prayer meeting they have every Wednesday at 7. Listen, this is their certain prayer meeting that they have every Wednesday at 7.
pray for nothing but this nation, and it's congressmen and women. There's nobody
It's
else.
congressmen and women and
we have
nobody
some
else.
godly people up there. But yeah, we pray about what we're voting on.
There are men and women of Congress that meet together on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and all they do is pray, and they have their little prayer meeting for Christian nationalism.
What the struggles are the week, but I want to encourage people to let them know there are godly people in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
And you
that our
ain't one of
voice is overwhelmed by all the noise that the world makes. You know, I used to do this in Sunday school, and my girls will know this.
So hold on. There's this other part that she goes on to talk about. Here we go. You ready?
That's an analogy I use in Congress too. I'm like, don't let the noise drown out what you know is the right thing to do. And you just got to remind people about that. But there are good people in Congress, and we do pray, and we pray about our votes, and we'll sit there in the chamber. If you look at me and Mary Miller, there's times that we will pray about something immediately right there on the floor. So
there are times that she and Mary Miller on the floor in Congress will stop immediately and pray about something.
How do you
Just
get
be
past
watching.
listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Oh, Marjorie sits with us too. Listen,
Oh, Marjorie sits with her too. Marjorie's a friend. Listen.
she's a friend. We were texting. She texted me. She said, "Can you believe blah, blah, blah?" I said, "Well, Marjorie, I don't agree with it either, by gosh." But anyway, it's just it takes a lot of us in different. You know, we have our different ways of getting people's attention. I don't shout fire in a crowded restaurant, but you got to do it in a way. All I can say is bless your heart, and they just got to figure out what I mean. That's all I'm saying. So
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
It's hard. You keep your composure, but it's your credibility's at stake. And so if they see you as a credible member, they're going to come and ask you to sponsor things or to carry bills.
They
or
added
to
music.
be on specific select committees, like the China Select Committee that I was asked to be on. They will ask you to do that because they know you're a credible member and you can get things done.
The music wasn't here
That
earlier.
being said, that's how it works. I just smile and go on.
The
and then
music
I'm not
wasn't
saying-
here.
Like, like here locally, or well, I guess it's everywhere, where attorney.
They have added music to this damn interview, y'all, because it did not have music when I listened to it before I got up here. Because it's the end of this, where not only does she call Al Green a boy, where she talks about another member of Congress saying that if he unscrewed his cane, would there be a pew pew in it? That's also when she refers to the fundraiser at the White House with drag people, and she referred to them as fairies. So they have now added music to try to cover it up. Listen.
Things will get in a courtroom and they'll fuss and fight with each other, but as soon as it's over, they go out to dinner, have coffee, whatever.
Yeah,
do Congress people do that?
Well, Lord Jesus, they make money that way. They get up and rant and rave and tweet or X or whatever it is. And
Hold their signs up during the State of the
now
Union.
that's got me. I wanted to go over there and grab a few of them, but Al Green was
Listen.
over here with his cane, and I'm
Yeah.
like, God, dang it, boy, put that. He does not
Boy.
need that cane. That cane is a prop.
She said he
Well, it's
doesn't.
not real.
So
And
I want y'all to listen to
I'm
these
saying,
Christians.
Like here locally, or
Listen to
I
this
guess it's
Christian.
everywhere, where attorneys will
And
get
listen
in a
at him
courtroom and
laugh.
they'll fuss and fight with each other, but as soon as it's over, they go out to dinner, have coffee, whatever.
Listen to this Christianness right here.
They
This is
make
so
money
much
that way.
pride.
They get up and rant and rave and tweet or X or whatever it is. And
Hold their signs up during the State of the
now
Union.
that's got me. I wanted to go over there and grab a few of them, but Al
Listen.
Green was over here with his cane, and I'm
Yeah.
like, God, dang it, boy, put that. He does not need that cane. That cane is a prop. I swear it's not real. And I'm wondering, one of my colleagues said, screw the gold part off of that. See if there's a gun in there. I'm like, I don't know about that man. He's just Weird Al. Okay.
Anything else you want to add? Anything that you want to tell our specific community?
Well, look, I don't know which camera I'm looking at. That we've got, you know, I said, oh, that'd be a great money raiser.
Yeah.
Get in there with some of those housewives of DC.
It's better
They're
than
all
what the
talking.
previous administration was having as fundraisers
Lord,
with
gosh.
transgender and.
Listen, I never saw so many fairies in the White House and dancing around. I'm like, I don't know where they got them, but look, my job is to love them into the love of Christ, and I've got to watch what I say.
While they're laughing.
But look, remember what I told you. I better not say it. I think they need more grandmothers in Congress. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, Diana, I want you to know that, I've always had this saying, nobody's told you they love you.
Oh, I
They
know
love
you
you in the
have.
Lord.
Yes.
And
So that is Congresswoman Diana Harshbarger's full interview, right? I wanted to make sure that you all heard that. I want to remind you of the indictment and the plea deal that I read to you at the beginning of this. For those of you all who are just joining me, she represents the state of Tennessee, Mimi. She's a congresswoman from Northeast Tennessee. I want to remind you all that when her talking about fraud, waste, and abuse, that her husband and she was a shareholder in their company. She was the secretary, according to their company's filings with the state of Tennessee, during the years of 2004 to 2009, when that company purchased iron sucrose from China, misbranded it as Venofor, and sold it to Kansas Dialysis, who then administered it to patients on dialysis. Her husband was convicted of healthcare fraud and mail fraud and all of that. She claims to have not known anything about it, even though she was the secretary for the company, and even though his plea deal specifically asks them to not charge her. So let me just tell you again, here's one of the conditions of the plea deal. It says to not file any charges against the defendant's wife, against whom the government currently has no evidence of complicity in the activities charged in the indictment. So when that's her. So when she tells you that she was called by God and, how godly she is and how she's so against, fraud and waste and abuse, I want you to remember that that's the company that she was the secretary of. She and her husband were the only two officers of that company. She was a stockholder in that company. And he was found, he took a plea deal and pled guilty to 2 of the 6 or 7 counts that they got. And he was sentenced to 48 months. So I think that everyone should remember that. Now, she claimed that she had nothing to do with it. She claimed that she had no involvement in it, but the paperwork shows different. The paperwork shows she was the secretary of the company. And for me, my opinion is you cannot convince me that as the secretary of that company, that for 5 years, she did not notice that they were buying things from China, renaming it and sending it to dialysis to Kansas City. You cannot convince me that she didn't know that as the secretary of that company, because I believe that she did. So that's just my personal opinion. Now, for those of you all who are talking and you're thinking about all of this, I want to just remind you of a couple of things that the founding fathers said about religion in this country. So that was part of the plea deal, Rylene, was for them not to charge her. So George Washington said to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, Rhode Island, right? In this letter in 1790, he said, the citizens of the United States of America have a right to applaud themselves for having given to mankind examples of an enlarged and liberal policy, a policy worthy of imitation. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent and natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens in giving it on all occasions their effectual support. So that is what George Washington said about religion and government. Free conscience, folks. The Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom also says the same thing. Whereas, number 1, it says, whereas Almighty God hath created the mind free, that all attempts to influence it by temporal punishment or burthens or by civil incapacitations tend only to beget habits of hypocrisy and meanness and are a departure from the plan of the holy author of our religion, who being Lord both of body and mind, yet chose not to propagate it by coercions on either, as was his almighty power to do so. They are literally saying to you, to force Christianity into government is contrary to what God himself did. I just want to be clear that what you are doing as Christian nationalists is going directly against the God that you claim to serve actually did for us, right? And then we can talk about James Madison. James Madison wrote the Memorial and Remonstrance Against Religious Assessments. That's on June 20th of 1785. And he said, listen, because what they were trying to do was put it in the law that the state could fund teachers who were Christian. And he says, absolutely not. He says the same thing, that it goes against God. He says it's an insult to God, as a matter of fact. And he says, have y'all forgotten what happened and the reason why we left England? All right. So let me just tell you, this is what he says. We, the subscribers, citizens of the said Commonwealth, have taken into serious consideration a bill printed by order of the last session of General Assembly entitled, quote, a bill establishing a provision for teachers of the Christian religion, and conceiving that the same, if finally armed with the sanctions of law, will be a dangerous abuse of power, are bound as faithful members of a free state to remonstrate against it. and to declare the reasons by which we are determined, we remonstrate against said bill. And then they go on to outline 15 reasons that religion should not be included in government. 15 reasons. Folks, these documents can be found in my link tree. They can be found on the internet. They are here for your happy reading, right? It is important to know that what they call Christian values are the values of many other faiths, many other religions, many other ways of life that have nothing to do with Christianity. My answer is yes. Yes, I do. Very soon. But if you want to make a sandwich, you can. So this is important for people to understand, okay? In no way, shape, or form, those values, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, the golden rule, they are in so many religions. The basic foundational principles belong to people of faith, people not of faith, people who just simply believe in no God at all, but they know how to treat human beings, people who believe in humanity. They don't have to subscribe to your religion, folks. And there is going to be no point in which we will ever go back to a time where religion is dictated by government or laws. It is not going to happen. Their small window is closing. The courts are slowing them down. We are organizing. We are talking to each other. We are running for office. We are talking to people. We are having conversations. We are voting. We are registering to vote. We are ensuring that our voter registration is up to date. We are ensuring that the people in our lives are registered to vote. We are offering rides to the polls. We are doing absolutely everything necessary to ensure that this does not come to fruition. This will not be a white Christian nationalist country. It will not, because we are literally a melting pot. Immigrants make up 15% of this population, foreign-born people from other countries. And by the way, if I'm really being honest, the majority of us here, unless you are indigenous to this land, you're an immigrant too, period. And if you want to brag and say it's because we conquered it, I wouldn't brag about it and then turn around and call yourself a Christian, because there's nothing to brag about when you murder people and you grape people and you rob people and you introduce diseases to them and then you steal things that they had stored up for their people. Because you arrive here in winter because your ass didn't know what season it was going to be because you thought you were going somewhere different. So then you go and you steal from the Native Americans in their storehouses. That's what you did. Tell me where Jesus said to do any of that. Tell me where Jesus said to be proud of war. Tell me where Jesus said to be proud of doing any of those things. Pesco, let me be clear. We have violated our treaties with Native Americans over 300 times. Don't talk to me about treaties. You don't want to do that. Because if you do, we can start with the Treaty of Tripoli. You want to do that? Here, let's just pull that one up for fun. Let's do it. You ready? Since you want to talk about treaties. This is one of my favorites. Okay, you ready? This is my favorite. Whoop. Hold on. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Right here. So listen to what it says. Let me give you a sip of water before I do it. So this is what it says. Article 11 of the treaty says, quote, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, as it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religious, or tranquility of Muslimin, that would be Muslims, as it has in itself no character of enmity. Oh, wait, I read that part. And as the said states, never have entered into any war or act of hostility against any Mohammedan nation, it is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinions shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries. I'm going to read the first part again so that you can hear me and hear me well. The Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli says, quote, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. I'm just want to make sure that everybody hears it properly. And now you guys are welcome to join the panel. So, Linda Sims on Facebook said, when Danny starts humming, you know it's coming. Yes, HP, it's the Treaty of Tripoli. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so let me do this. Okay, I have no idea what order people came up in. So I know that I did Ocean last. So let me do Elaine and then Michelle, and then we'll go from there, and I'll see if Arrive and Michael actually connect. Good afternoon, Elaine. Elaine, did you mean to request? Probably not. Michelle, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. What you got for me?
I grew up Church of Christ for 30 years, believed it hook, line, and sinker, and I'm here to tell you they believe every bit of what comes out of Trump's mouth because, I mean, they truly believe they're the only church going to heaven. So I think that's why it was so easy for them to fall right into the trap of Trump.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is so I when people want to talk to me about Donald Trump, and just what a man of God he is and all of that, I simply usually just go to Truth Social, and I pull up like his latest truth, right? Because it doesn't really matter which one I choose. It could be any of them, right?
Absolutely.
And then this is what I do, right? So, and we're going to do it right now together, maybe, because I usually don't look it up on my computer. No, well, I am today. All right, so here we go. Let's go to, okay, so this is from 2 hours ago. I can't make this up. Later today, I will be meeting with, of all people, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic and the person responsible for many fictional stories about me, including the made-up hoax on Suckers and Losers and Signalgate, something he was somewhat more successful with. Jeffrey is bringing with him Michelle, whatever, and Ashley Parker, not exactly pro-Trump writers either, to put it mildly. The story they are writing, they have told my representatives, will be entitled, quote, the most consequential president of this century, end quote. I am doing this interview out of curiosity and as a competition with myself, just to see if it's possible for The Atlantic to be truthful. Are they capable of writing a fair story on Trump? The way I look at it, what can be so bad? I won, in all caps. So let's just for fun, let's just look at this. But the fruit of the Spirit, according to the King James Bible says, is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So did we hear any of the fruits of Spirit in that post? I did not. I definitely didn't hear meekness, right? So if I go back to just like another post, not all the stuff that he's posting that belong to other people, but just another post. He's reposting a lot of other people's stuff. He likes to do that when people say really nice things about him. Yeah, like he reposted, are you ready to see what? No, okay, I can't. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, God, I can't stand this man. Harvard is an anti-Semitic far-left institution, as are numerous others, with students being accepted from all over the world that want to rip our country apart. The place is a liberal mess, allowing a certain group of crazed lunatics to enter and exit the classroom and spew fake anger and hate. It is truly horrific. Now, since our filings began, they act like they are all quote-unquote American apple pie. Harvard is a threat to democracy with a lawyer who represents me, who should therefore be forced to resign immediately or be fired. He's not that good anyway. And I hope that my very big and beautiful company, now run by my sons, gets rid of him ASAP. What? So anytime people want to talk to me about, that's Donald Trump posting that. For people who don't know, I'm reading straight from Truth Social, which, by the way, they now talk about Truth TV. Did y'all know there's truth.tv now, where Newsmax and OAN are also streaming? Did y'all know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, if you go to trump.tv. Oh, hold on. Well, you heard it will replace Fox. I don't know. It's Trump something.tv. Hold on. Because it's in my phone. It's called Truth Plus. It's truthsocial.tv. And it's literally, it's got the Charlie Kirk show, Steve Bannon show, all of those. It's literally called Truth Plus. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, so Michelle, like I said, I grew up neck deep in church too, from the South. And I know, but here's my thing, right? I also know that, Diana was saying that, in the end times, we're going to hear things that were thought bad are going to be thought good and vice versa. Here's what I also know it says, theirs will be those who come before God and say, but Lord, I did this in your name and I did that in your name. And he says, get thee away from me. I knew you not.
Absolutely.
And so for me, that would include every one of those congressmen and women that are in that Bible study with Diana Hashbarger and Mike Johnson Wednesday nights at 7 p.m.
I agree. Like T-Berry just said, I've been calling him the Antichrist forever.
Yeah, I mean, to me, so like to call him that ties into Christianity. And to me, it's another thing where I'm not here to argue whether or not Christianity whether Jesus was real, whether he really rose from the dead. I'm not here to argue any of that. It doesn't bother me what part of people's faith they have, as long as your faith has you come from a good thing, right? As long as your faith has you respect other people's rights and come from a place of love, I don't really care. As long as your faith doesn't infringe upon my rights or anybody else's rights, I'm good with it. I don't really care what you believe because it's none of my business. That's between you and whatever you do or don't believe in, right? Yeah, so the problem that I have is when people try to use their faith and put it into government and use that faith to set the laws and guidelines for the rest of us. That's when I have a problem. So when people say, I'm so tired of Christianity being under attack, well, here's a hint. Stop trying to put Christianity in our schools and in our hospitals and in our government, and nobody will be mad at Christians. Ain't nobody mad at Buddhists. There's right? Listen, who's mad at Buddhists? Nobody. You want to know why? Because Buddhists mind their damn business. They ain't walking around trying to convert nobody. They're not trying to put it in government. Right? Nobody's mad at those folks. So if you want people to not be mad at Christians, stop using Christianity to dictate other people's life through laws. Just saying. A federal judge pauses parts of Trump's sweeping executive order on voting. That's great. That just came up from NPR. Right, Stacey D. Agreed. 100%. So, but I appreciate you, Michelle.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you much. Ocean String, what you got for me?
Hi.
Hello.
I've been listening to you, and you're so right. People shouldn't, listen to all this rhetoric that's going on and false talk, about the Bible, about who Trump really is under the Christian law, because he's not.
Yeah, no.
He's not a Christian. He will not swear on the Bible because that's swearing to God. He believes in his own agenda. He doesn't care. All he wants is people to continue praising him. And he's social media. He wants to be known that he's too popular. He wants to be popular.
Yeah.
As long as the people keep holding him there, he's gonna keep hanging on it and keep doing what he's doing.
So, like I said, what I truly believe is it's just like, so, okay, Donald Trump, the smartest thing about him is that he's smart enough to keep smart people around him. Where in the Bible is what I just said? Which part of what I said? Oh, the workers of iniquity, get away from me. I know you're not. Hold on a second. Oh, it is Matthew 7:23. That's it. It's Matthew 7 verse 23. Yeah. It literally says, like, hold on, I'll give you the King James version of it, because it's one of my favorites, right? See, this is why I tell people, come on over here with that Bible if you want to, because I will get you. Here's what it says. Matthew 7:21-23 says, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. 22 says, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we not cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? Verse 23 says, and then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. That's what it says.
And that is the truth, and I'm sorry, I don't know Bible too by heart.
No worries.
But like I said, I know that Trump is a liar, and I know Trump is going to continue doing what he's doing as long as the people uphold him in his wrongs. Where this nation is going to stay the way it is until the people realize that saying, I am a Christian, I am this, and I believe in the word of God. If you do, then you need to look into your own self before you start holding someone else in a situation where they're wrong and you know you're wrong. Because if you whoop your child because that child hit you or cuss you or steal from someone else, because Christian kids or Christian people are not supposed to do that.
No people are supposed to do that. So this is my thing. This is
supposed to do that, but in this Christian world.
But this is what I'm saying. We don't live in a Christian world. We don't. But this is the part. This is the thing that I think is important, right? Is when we're talking, especially when we're talking about government, right? When we're talking about all of these things, I want people to understand that I can promise you, Hinduism teaches against robbing people and unaliving people and lying and all the things. So does Buddhism. Like, I can tell you that every major religion that is out there says the same thing. Yeah, it says the same thing. But my point is that people, very often, people act like Christianity is the only religion that says these things when it's not. No.
It's not.
No.
It's not. It's really not. And the problem is American people that say they're Christians, the ones that say they're Christian, they twist the word around to their own belief.
Well, I think that what people ought to need to remember is that the United States of America didn't make up Christianity, right? Christianity came from other places. And I think what people also need to remember is that in the history of the world, in the history of the world, it is the religious faith of Christianity that has been used whenever it's been put into government. It has been used to commit ridiculous atrocities. And what's crazy about this is the things that the United States of America and its Congress people condone in the name of Christianity, they would condemn happening in a brown country. The things that America wants to do to women right now, in terms of making them give birth and not allowing them whatever, it is the thing that, yeah, but it's the thing that we have condemned brown countries for forever.
And see, that's crazy. We shouldn't have.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, right, Evan Ejet, exactly. So I wanted to point that out. So, but yeah, Ocean, I appreciate that. I appreciate you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. So I just want to, in case Diana Harshbarger or anybody else that believes her or follows her or Trump, and professes to be a Christian, and it is your Christian faith that is the foundation of your votes for this. When I say this, I say her or Trump or their agenda. I have no idea, Blue Honey Pot. I want to bring you back up to the top of Matthew chapter 7. And I think that we should start at Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. It says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." That's a full sentence right there with a period. "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure you met, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considereth not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in your eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote of thy brother's eye. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. 7, ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Now, Diana, nowhere does that say force. It says ask, seek, knock. If it isn't opened unto you, it ain't meant for you. Let me be clear. I'm going to say it again. It says knock. It says ask, seek, and knock. It doesn't say force it, which is what you said y'all are doing, right? Oh. It is verse 12. Chapter 7, verse 12 says, "Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat." Right? Verse 15, which for me is applicable right now. You ready? "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." Let me say that again. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. And then here's what it says: "Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. let me just be clear. Listen, if y'all want to talk to me as Christians, let's talk as Christians. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Verse 16, you shall know them by their fruits. Do I need to remind you what the fruits are again? Hold on, I got you. Now, and I'm going to say it in a couple of different ways just so you know. And yes, I'm turning a Bible for y'all who don't think the heathen owns one. And I probably know it better than most of y'all. But give me 1 second. See, mine is even marked. Can you see mine is even marked? See it? It's right here. It's marked. So here's what it says. It says, this is Galatians 5, chapter 22. But the fruit of the Spirit, the work which his presence within accomplishes, this is the amplified version, right? Is love, joy, peace, patience, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, which is also known as meekness or humility, self-control, self-restraint, continence, right? Against such things there is no law. And those who belong to Jesus Christ have crucified the flesh and its passion and appetites and desire. So again, that's the fruits of the Spirit. So I'm going to go back to Matthew. Where it says, verse 16, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. And every tree that bringeth forth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. And here's the difference between what Diana Harshbarger did in that interview and what I'm doing when I'm talking about Donald Trump and her. She is talking about people and calling them fairies because she doesn't like who they are as people and how they dress and how they live, right? But what is their fruit? Their fruit is kindness. Their fruit is love. Their fruit is joy, right? See, I'm judging you by your fruit. Your fruit is not meekness or humility. What did you say, Diana Harshbarger? You said, I have great insurance and more money. What can you do to me? Right? I'm judging fruit, the way that Donald Trump talks about people and children and women and people who are disabled or people who are captured in war. I'm talking about his fruit. I'm not judging him as a human being. I'm judging his fruit, and his fruit tells me who he is. See, that's the difference. So when you say I'm judging Donald Trump, no, I'm not. I'm judging the fruit. Okay, that's what I'm judging, the fruit. See, when you judge people that are gay or lesbian or bisexual or trans, you are judging them because of something you don't like. But what if those people that are gay are taking care of the elderly and taking care of children and feeding the homeless and storing up their wealth for their children? And what if they are bearing good fruit? Huh? Come on. I just want to know. Because what it says is an evil tree cannot bear good fruit. So tell me, how does that tree bear good fruit if it's evil the way that you say it is? It can't. It can't. Going to church on Sunday mornings doesn't make you Christ-like. If you knew anything about Jesus, you know he ain't like going to church no way. If you knew anything about Jesus, he wasn't a fan of churches. He wasn't a fan of religion, as a matter of fact. What you all are doing is religion. What the rest of us are doing is faith. What you all are doing is religion. What the rest of us are doing is faith. That's the difference, folks. And that is why there will be these, as we go back to Matthew chapter 7, right? Verse 20, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. 21, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Verse 22, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we not cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? And verse 23, he says, and then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye worker of iniquity. So, and that's when he started flipping over tables. So, while we're busy talking about faith and politics, Diana Harshbarger, for 37 minutes, in which you referred to a 77-year-old Black member of Congress, a boy, as you referred to people of the LGBTQIA community as fairies, right? When you said thugs, all of those like dog whistle words, we hear you, ma'am. We see you. We know you. So focus on that little moat, that beam you got. Focus on that beam and then come talk to me about my moat. Okay? Just to be clear. All right. So that is it, folks. That is the live for today. I said I literally was going to do nothing but talk about Diana Harshbarger today, this interview today, her hypocrisy and faith in politics, religion in politics. And so that is what I wanted to do. I have promised my my grandbabies the Minecraft movie. We did not get to do it yesterday. So that is what we are going to go do today. So I'm going to treat these babies. They are very patient with me. Not always me, love, but let me just say this, right? These babies give me a lot of grace to do the work that I do. Because before I even get here, there's research that has to be done, and there's documents that have to be pulled up, and all of the things that I have to make sure, because I like absolutely everything to be fact-based when I give it to you. And so they give me a lot of joy and a lot of room, and a lot of consideration, right? And so this is a treat for them, because I appreciate them being patient with me and letting me do this work. Appreciate you, Arrive. And so, it's one small way I can say thank you to the babies. As a reminder, this weekend, I will be, oh, thank you, Living with the Louds. I haven't seen that one before. I will be in Natural Bridge, Virginia this weekend. I will be speaking Saturday morning at the Virginia Democratic Rural Caucus. That's where I will be. And then that afternoon, I will be speaking virtually and running a breakout session for the Rural Democratic Leaders Conference that is happening virtually. You can go to ruralorganizing.org to RSVP for that. And those are the two places that I will be. And then on May 4th, I will be part of a panel virtually that is speaking to the folks of Indiana, the physicians, and the people in that community who their state legislature is trying to create a COPA. It starts at noon. So there's a lot going on that's happening on May 4th for me. So I'm going to do this with the grandbaby so that I can come back, color and cut my hair. Then I got to get an oil change and clean my car to get ready for this trip and this drive. So I appreciate all of you all for the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, all the stuff that you do to support this work and me and my family. I'm ridiculously grateful. So I appreciate you all very, very, very much. Appreciate you, Christine is fed up. Appreciate you for the Venmo, really do. Which I don't normally say, but it popped up while I was still alive. So I'm just saying thank you because we're right here. I don't usually like to do that scream and shout out stuff and whatever, but but I do appreciate absolutely everybody. Subscribers, we will be back on the book club sometime next week. I will. So Donna Ski, this is the thing. If you're talking about Indeed, they changed it due to venue issues. They changed it. I'm going to be virtual instead of there in person. So I won't be there in person in Indiana. They had to change it. So, but I will be there virtually, prepared to give a lot of information. So I'm excited about that. So anyway, all right. That's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are we still having good trouble meeting? If it is any time in the next 5 days, the answer is no. Because I can't squeeze anything in the next 5 days. That's all I know for sure. But yeah, so I think we're all good to go for now. All right. I appreciate you guys very much. I will see Facebook and YouTube later.